Αγάπη που είχα και χάσα την αναγνώσμια. Μου απ' την αναγνώσμια.
My name is Endi Tupia. I am an artist, filmmaker, storyteller. I work with the medium of moving image mainly, but my research is very much text-based. In my latest projects, I am focusing on geographies of the southern Mediterranean, especially female geographies of the southern Mediterranean, experimenting also with both sound and image. I am the artist in residence together with Claudiana Milona, my collaborating artist, who is an architect, researcher, and spatial practitioner. We are both together in this project, part of the EMAP European Media Art Platform Network with Onassis Air as the host institution. And we did together the residency between two countries. We are very faithful to the bordering geographies. We did partially a research in the town of Dervican, which is central to our project. And then we are here in the second phase in Athens.
Τώρα τη βλέπω Σαλόνε και την καρδιά μου και την καρδιά μου.
So for this project, we wanted to center the female experience of the peripheral geographies of the Mediterranean. Both me and Claudiana are interested in processes of decentering the gaze within European geographical and power settings with a female perspective. And since Claudiana had, with a previous project, encountered the women of Dervican, which is a Greek-speaking minority town within the borders of Albania, we had exchanged about their work and mostly how they inhabit public space with the polyphonic singing. So our research wanted to maintain both their experience as a minority within Albanian borders, the reality of the borders, which impacts greatly the life in the village, and their effort to maintain this reality of the polyphonic singing in spite of the impact of migration, which is translated in everyone migrating, usually more than 80% of the cases, towards northern Greece and or Athens. We used the polyphonic singing as a medium and as a starter to dive into the lives of the women. But also we wanted to show how the bodies of these women are a medium of the tradition manifesting in public space and as a medium between past and present.
Ένα τραγούδι, μαμά, ποιο λένε την Πέμπτη?
Είπαμε την Μπουκάτσια, να το
Άμα ποιο να πούμε.
Πες το εσύ και να σπάει.
Και ένας μωρή ξένας, ξένος, πάντα ξένος. Και ένας ξένος, πάντα ξένος ήρθε να μου τη μαρίνει, να μου τη μαρίνει.
I think they had an interest in wanting to be portrayed through the polyphonic singing because it is a practice that has been neglected or it is slowly gaining importance, especially in the last 15 to 10 years. It is increasingly growing, but it's also a way for them, having two outsiders document, do a bit of archival work, to go through what they are doing, to also, through us, see this process that they have built slowly in the last, I think, 10 to 15 years. What was remarkable for us is how the idea of nation and borders fluctuates around the idea of region and village and area. So also the terminology of accessing identity expands because the village itself, through the women and the interviews that we were able to conduct, identify with the region and with the area of Dropul. Many of the towns of Dropul are Greek minorities within Albanian borders. But it was also inevitable for them during their lives not to confront themselves with the power systems of the nation states, namely between Albania and Greece.
Mestu yul bakshe mori vasomke vasiliki. Mestu yul bakshe mori vasomke vasiliki.
The second phase in Athens was very intense. We didn't expect that it would be very engaging to do the translation work. The interpretation, and also to be able to, it was inevitable for us to work with text and language. And then we decided to incorporate it in also the installation strategy. So our object of research became also a form of translating the language elements into the visuality of the filmic part of the installation. This is an experiment because the work, I think, has the ability to be adaptable throughout a variety of media. So we aspire, after the residency, to be able to work on a longer feature documentary, which has a more linear time, but also to experiment with multiple channel installation, possibly 3, both audio and video. We took with Claudiana the opportunity of the open day presentation within the residency at Onassis Air to experiment with an initial idea, because we are open to many types of intersecting different media, and we decided to, because of the time length that we dedicated to the written research, translation and transcribing, also the interviews, which was valuable, to create a 2-channel installation where one video is concerned with moving image and the other with incorporating text as a visual form, which has more the feeling of poetry than of prose or subtitling, and also of experimenting with the text of the songs, parts of the interviews, and also a slight commentary on our part on how this experience of research was. We are thinking with Claudiana to continue this work and to use the different ways of experimenting with their end result, to keep the end result open, to use it as a way to keep in touch with the community and to re-go there to not only show the results and discuss it with the women, also how they see themselves in the project, and then use this as a way to return for another way of experimenting with the results and kind of continue in the post-creation of the artwork to be in touch with the community and see what comes from that.